Is this the end of the crypto market? Could the crypto market really crash from here after this capitulation event? Because one thing that I've been saying for a long time on the channel is, in accordance with the previous cycles, next week is the end of the Bitcoin cycle. We've had a capitulation event. What happens at the end of a cycle? Capitulation event. So is this the first sign that the cycle is dead? Or for the first time in Bitcoin's history, are we going to have an extended cycle, a late rally, and then really go on risk towards the end of this year and the start of next year? Because one thing, if you're asking me what my thoughts are, we haven't had the on-risk rally. We look at the Russell 2000, we look at the total 3, we look at the Bitcoin dominance, we look at Bitcoin itself, we look at Ethereum against Bitcoin. These charts haven't played out the way that they're supposed to play out in accordance with previous cycles. So in my mind, these things need to play out. We need a late rally, and this is exactly what I'm thinking. And firstly, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the previous cycles in accordance with Bitcoin to find out exactly how long the previous cycles were, because we'd give an estimation when the end date of the cycle was. The end date of the cycle is here next week. So the end date of the cycle in accordance with previous cycles is 13th of October. We've had a capitulation event, and we need to stand up and we need to wake up and we need to understand, what does this capitulation event mean? Is it over? Is it just something that flushes out the market, flushes out the leverage before we can get an on-risk rally? Because that's something that needs to happen. So we go back in time. Anyone that's new to the channel, this is the important thing: 152 weeks. Because around about this area here, this is where I'd put my estimation in based on previous cycles. So if we just go back in time, this is the weekly chart, and you can see one thing. You've got from the bear market low here, all the way back in 2015, all the way to the top of the 2017 high, you've got a 152-week cycle, 152 weeks. That's the important thing. Then we had the bear market. We measured the high. We measured it all the way down to the bear market low. And we got this, 52 weeks. So you got 152 and then 52. This is where the consistency comes in, because the next cycle, all the way from the bottom, 2,981, all the way to the bull market high, 69,000. How long? 152 weeks. So you got 152 weeks, and then you got 52-week bear market. Now, this thing shocks you. Anyone that's new to the channel, this thing will shock you, because it is in accordance with time, and these things do play out, and they've played out previously, and that allowed us to forward predict exactly when we thought that the end of the cycle was. So we're going to talk about the different scenario very shortly, but let's talk about this first. We had the bear market. There's the high, there's the low, 15,000. How long was that? 52 weeks. Exactly the same as the previous cycle, 52 weeks. So we have got consistency here: 152, 152, 52, 52. Now, this is where we are now in the cycle as far as Bitcoin's concerned. Something's happened differently that we're going to talk about very shortly. Next week is going to be, as far as the previous cycles are concerned, the end of the Bitcoin cycle. Are we going to get an extension? People are calling the end of the cycle. Bitcoin's in a range here. Bitcoin's in a range. The end of the cycle isn't until you take out the previous higher low and then put in a lower high as confirmation, and then a continuation to the downside. So we need to be taking out these levels here, before you could start confirming any kind of bear market. It needs to do something like this: hold, lower high, and then you could start talking bear market. Not there yet. We're still in the range. So that's positive for Bitcoin. One thing is, we're holding a range. Yes, this was nasty, but one thing that you can see, look at the previous candle, exactly the same size. So what went up, come back down the following week and wiped out the previous week's price action. That's all it's done. It's not as bad as what people think. The capitulation happened on altcoins. Let's have a look at total 3. This is what happened on altcoins, all the way down here, all the way down here. What happened? Bought up, all the way back up to here. So we regained the 61.8% retracement. That's strong. We currently need to test the 78.6, which is 1.05 trillion. But this buy up showed strength. That didn't show weakness, guys. That showed strength. That was a big buy up. That was total three. That was everything outside Bitcoin. That was everything outside of Ethereum. Then we got the Russell 2000. Now, Russell 2000 looks like it's got a little bit more to come. So we could get a bit more downside, but we have got a good support base. We talked about this at 2,368. So if the Russell 2000 holds this, what's that going to do? Allow it to have enough momentum to be able to push through, take out its all-time high, indicating an on-risk rally. We're still here. We're still at the top of its all-time high, trying to break through. So yes, we've had a pullback. Yes, we've taken out the extreme of the previous week, but this is still positive. We still need to hold this level. We can still break through. People are saying it's the end of the market. There's so many people that are calling the end of the market, which indicates one thing to me. These things that we've been looking at need to still play out. So Bitcoin dominance. Look at this. Bitcoin, 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 Bitcoin. Absolutely smashed the altcoins. Then what happened? This was sold, sold, sold. Altcoins regain confidence. What happens to Bitcoin? The reversal happens to total three, bought up. So that's where the strength was, and that's where the weakness was. Weakness on dominance, strength on total three. That is strong. So what I'm saying, guys, is we need to analyze this. We need to look. We need to prepare over the next coming days. But people are calling the end of the cycle. That signals to me that it's not the end of the cycle. So the S&P 500. This is what I was warning people on. I said that this was an ascending channel. An ascending channel is a bearish channel. When you get a bearish channel to the upside, that's signaling weakness, 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 where you can't keep putting in those big candles, pushing in new highs. So we expected a bit of weakness. We could come further down on the S&P 500, and you've got support here, 6,234, which is the bottom of this move here. So potentially, this is important. Going into today, going into tomorrow, we need to be cautious, understanding exactly what could happen on Monday when the stock market opens in America and what impact that's going to have. Are we going to get further downside, put in a higher low, and then continue? Or are we going to really, really get a crash going into next week? Because the charts are telling me one thing. The charts are indicating that things were bought up. See, the USDT dominance, stable coins. What happened? Everybody sold their altcoins into stable coins. Everybody sold their altcoins. It come all the way up to here, tested the 61.8, and then that was rejected. Guess what? People were buying altcoins at higher levels. That's what's supposed to happen. That is a leverage wipeout. That is shaking out the market, shaking out the weak hands. They sell at low levels and then buy back at higher levels. And that's what this indicates. So Ethereum against Bitcoin is the next one. What needs to happen? We need a push to the upside, because we want our Ethereum season. We want our Ethereum season, like we had that one. It's not Bitcoin season, it's ETH season, and we want to continue it to be ETH season. So, to a certain extent, guys, you ask me this. If you ask me this in accordance with what I thought 6 months ago, I'd say this was the end of the cycle. This is the time for me to scale out. But I'd said one thing as far as my exit strategy is concerned. We need on risk, we need stimulus, we need to push the market, we need euphoria, we need extreme greed. And we haven't had that yet. So that's what I'm waiting for, is a break of this, total three. Then I'm going to start scaling out the market. So I'm not calling the end of the market, guys. If you're asking me as far as probabilities are concerned, this looks like a capitulation event. All of these charts collectively are telling me that this is a capitulation event. So was it a buying opportunity? Is it the end of a cycle? You let me know exactly in the comments what you think, and I will see you guys in the next one.